All right, first snow of 2024, and I thought I'd go out and get some pictures, and here are some pictures that I got. This, I actually took out the wrong lens. Well, not wrong lens, not the lens I intended to take out, but it's fine. This is a prime lens instead of a telephoto, so I just gotta move about more. This first one, the size of this little snowman that somebody built, I'm gonna say it's about a foot high off the ground. But I like how the light was hitting from behind. So you can see the shadow in front, so the light's behind. And let's see what we can do with it. Now, in here is a pond, and that's a little bridge kind of. And let's see what we can do. All right, so that's not too bad. Now I don't want to raise the shadows of this part here, but let's see what it looks like. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Let's increase the contrast. Pictures of snow, actually my first serious attempt of taking pictures of snow. And it's, well, at this stage it's kind of difficult for me because everything is just white. So there's not a lot of things you can increase the contrast with. So I tried to search for things that had color in the background. This yellow railing here of the road behind added some color, and this tree back here that hasn't yet lost all its leaves also added some color. So I kind of like this as it is. Now what would I have done differently? I don't think these parts of the image outside these lines added any more interest. So perhaps I could have stepped in closer and just gotten more of the snowman, and kind of like that. Yeah, kind of like that. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I think that's better for sure. But maybe, no, I think that's good. I think that's good. And if I had angled the camera a little bit differently, it would have looked like the snowman was holding up the road or something. But I think this is better. All right, what else can we do with this? Not much else. Let's see what else. This one had this leaf that had now been frozen in place in the pond. And let's see what we can do with that. Not much else. Like I said, there's not a lot of color here, so it's gonna be mostly okay. All right, I like black and white. It's gonna be mostly, hopefully, for composition rather than color. I don't know if I like black and white more than color. Actually, no, the color looks better. What would I have done differently? I like that the snow is included here because it kind of adds more meaning to or more clarity to the time of the year it is, aside from it being frozen over. But it's fresh snow, not just a frozen lake that's perpetually frozen for the season. So I like that. I think a lot of these branches are cluttered though. So I don't know how I would have gotten it. Maybe with a telephoto and shot from a different angle, perhaps. All right. This is another one where I found some color in what would look like the winter. So it's rare to find something that's growing, but it looks like this is fresh growth, which is unusual because it's winter, and these plants don't usually grow, I don't think, in winter, but it looks like it's growing. Not much you can do with this. Now what would I have done differently? Perhaps get closer. So I'm going to crop in, but I don't think it's going to look great because we're going to lose some detail. But maybe like this. Nah, I like this more. Maybe just like this. All right, so let's see what we got. It's not too bad, but we could do even better. Can we? Because if I go too close, then it just looks like a picture of a leaf without any context. You know, let's see what we got. It doesn't look too bad, but you can't tell where you are. Is it the white background? I don't know. So, this might be a trash of a picture. All right, this one, I think they're called cattails, my kid says. And my intent was to get closer, at least get a closer shot, zoomed in, but I didn't want to fall into the pond, so I got this picture. The pond has snow and ice on it. That's it in the background. But I'm not too happy with how it turned out because I couldn't get close enough. I wanted to get in real close with one of these. Let's put it here on this line. And that doesn't look too bad. Too bad. It would have been nice if there was an insect or something perched on there. All right, and this leaf was just hanging out literally on this branch, and I thought it looked interesting. Generally, if it looks interesting, I snap and I try to see if I can get a photo out of it. But let's see if we can select subject on this. Will it select the leaf? That's not too bad. And then we can raise the exposure just a little bit, increase the contrast. Then we could raise the saturation and see what that looks like before and after. That's before, that's after. All right, an improvement, I think. What would I have done differently? Well, deliberately I tried to get the branch pointing this way, and I wanted to get from this joint and to get all of the leaf from the stem to the tip. So that was deliberate. Now this tree was some distance away, but I liked how it looked in the sun, and the sun is shining from behind it. And I wanted to get this in it. My intent was to give it some kind of a framing, or at least a side of a frame. But now that I look at it, I could have stepped a little bit to the right and cut that out completely. Kind of like this. Actually, no, I prefer it this way. But I didn't need all of this room over it. But I still like it. That's what we can do to edit this. Now, this green we can do something with. So if we go and add a color range, that's nicely done. And then we can raise the saturation on this bugger. Yeah, that's good. And we don't need the contrast. Yeah, that's good. All right, and then we can decrease the whites if we add another one. Let's do color range and decrease the exposure a little bit. Okay, so let's see before, after. I don't know what else can be done. It's so tricky to do things in the snow. Maybe if I'd planned more. All right, let's see what else we got. This one I like because it had the juxtaposition of the green and white. And I didn't want to crop in or go in too close, because then could you really tell it was a bench or not? I think this makes it clear it's actually a bench. But now that I look at it, I think it would have been at least just as interesting if we had no idea what it was. What's important was it's snow and it's frozen over. So it doesn't need to be clear every time, I don't think. Okay, that doesn't look good. Let me see if I could move it a little bit. Yeah, that's not too bad. And let's raise, okay, we can drop the whites a little bit. And then we can increase the contrast, drop the whites even more, highlights and highlights, and raise the exposure. Yeah, I kind of like that. All right, next one. I like this. I was brought up in a church, and there was a story of the one set of footprints in the sand, and supposedly, according to the story, it's a symbolic thing, meaning Jesus was carrying you or something like that. So that's how it is. So I thought it was cool with this bench over here. Not quite sure why I included a bench, but I thought it was interesting. Not sure why. I could make something up right now, but this was the original intent, is to capture the singular footprints going this way. Now what would I have done differently is gotten down lower. Maybe, I think so. Or at least straightened up a little bit so I was following the footprints. Okay, What can we do with this? Also, the other thing I would have done differently. Wait a second. The other thing I would have done differently is all this is distracting. All this here. So I didn't need to include that. Did not need to include that at all. Also, this amount on the left, not important. It's gonna be a trash crop, but that was the original intent, kind of. All this here is not important. All right, what else you got? This one is a long middle path. It's riding in the middle of the pond. And I think it was cool, a cool shot. It looks cool here. No, it's a little off-centered, I think. I put the lines up. Yeah, it is. It is a little. It's a little off-centered. And I did intend to get this tree here, but now that I look at it, I don't know if it's that relevant. That's better, I think. Yeah, wouldn't it have been cool if I got this shot before this, or with less footprints in it? I think. All right, and then this one here had just a flock of birds just hanging out in the middle of the pond, standing on the ice. I thought it was interesting. But the tricky thing with snow is if you raise the exposure, then you're gonna blow out the whites, and you raise the shadows. That's not too bad, actually. That's not too bad. It's not too bad. All right, we got just a few more, I think. This one, I liked how the branches were kind of forming a line from the woodland into the pond. Now it's clear that these are once trees, or maybe a tree fell here and then these are the branches of the tree. I'm not sure, but I thought it was interesting. What would I have done? Jesus, what would I have done differently is, man, if I had a telephoto, then I could go in even closer. But I guess this kind of gives it scale. That's a leaf right there, right here. It kind of gives it scale, I think. But I don't know if it's necessary for all of this to be in the picture. But you know what? It's not terrible. But this is always his space, I think. So let's try to crop that in. Let me try. I don't know why sometimes, especially YouTubers, say let's, and it's just them. I just did the same thing. It's just me. It's just me. Okay. If we did that, I think that's better already. I think so. Let's increase the contrast. That looks better already. Let's increase the overall saturation. Then let's add a color mask on the orange. Let's see. And increase saturation on that. That looks pretty good, I think. All right, let's see before and after. Before, after. All right, that's pretty good. Now these shots, again, it would have been nice to have a telephoto, but this is the better of the two because this branch is in the way of this bird. I think it's called a cardinal, I think. But it's just too much to actually make a photo of, at least at my current experience level. So I'm gonna delete these two. It's so strange that maybe a year ago I would have thought that was a great picture. But if you're not growing, you're losing. All right, so this is also a cool shot. It's actually bigger than it appears on the screen. And I like how this was curving. It was curved on the pond here, the curved ice, and it's frozen. So I focused the camera right over here because I didn't want to focus on the water. There's nothing to focus on, but it was nice to show the detail of the ice, I think. So let's see what we can do with this one. That's not too bad. I could do all kinds of stuff and make this shiny. I've seen people do it, but I'm gonna leave it like this. And I like how that looked just because of the shape of it. It would have been nice if there was a bird or a swan hanging out here. This is the same shot as this one, but from the other end of the path. It's a beautiful park, by the way. And this one I wanted to frame the birds through here, the swan through here. You call it a flock of swan? I don't know. Some swan were out here hanging out, There's a bunch of them. There's one like this 3 there, and there's 3 more over here. Oh look, there's a little looks like a duck. Sometimes I see a turtle hanging out there too, but I don't see any this time. And I don't know if this was properly exposed. f2.8 ISO 50. So maybe I could have raised the ISO. So some of these cameras, especially the A6600, they do have a base ISO for photography, which is crazy. I actually didn't know that was a thing until I noticed that some of them have a line under the ISO settings that are below 100. Anyways, I'm not too satisfied with this picture because you can't really see much as far as what is the point of the picture. Vaguely, I guess you could infer that it's a swan, but then not enough of them are in focus or in the right area. It's not, as I would say, it's not balanced. All right, this one I liked at the time, even though the sun was covered by, was obscured by clouds, because these birds were in a line almost curved with the ice. And I was trying to get a vantage point to show the curvature of how they stood, but I feared that as I moved, they would just fly away. So I just snapped it as quickly as I could. Now afterwards, I mean, since I loaded them in Lightroom, I saw that you could see their reflection in the ice, which was cool. I think it's still cool that you can see them. In a perfect world, you could see all of them reflected, but you know, I think this is pretty good. All right, so this is what we can do. We can raise the exposure a little bit, not too much. Raise the contrast. See, if we raise the exposure, we blow that all out. So let's try the shadows, and then let's raise the blacks a little bit. I have to paint all of these in if I'm going to. It got most of them, I guess. Most of them. All right, so let's see before, after. That's not too bad. And this one is garbage. At the time, these were in a line. Like one bird here, this one was more to the left. And it looked like they were all in a line. I was trying to get that shot, but by the time I got the settings right, it wasn't that way anymore. And this one I kind of liked because this one had the most colors in the picture for winter. So these trees still have their leaves on them, and you can still see the evergreens, and I think you can see some other colors in here on some other trees. No, just the evergreens in these trees, and then the birds, the duck here, and so on and so forth. So let's see what we can do with this. Now, what would I have done differently? I don't remember if this island here or this bit of land ended a little bit on the right of the just outside the frame here. Otherwise I would have included it, I think. Now I wish I could have gotten down lower and got a shot more on their level with this in the background, but you know. All right, and this is a water flowing over this little falls here. It's small actually. If you stood here, your knee would be just above this top step. And let me see what we can do with this. I'm actually pretty satisfied with this, to be honest. The only thing I would have done differently is all of this up here is not necessary, I don't think. The point of this picture is the falls. So maybe I could have gotten down lower, taking the time to do it. And then that would have made it just a little bit better, I think. Also, I could have tried a long exposure if I had a tripod or set the camera down somewhere, just to make the water look a little silky. This one I went for the sun shining off of here, but I couldn't get it because the sun was too bright. I didn't have a filter. So that was the intent, to get it, but I couldn't get the sun to hit it just right. And this one I intended to get the island. There's a little island over here, which I'd love to row over to if I could, but it's against the rules, so. But I think it's pretty cool. So it's a short, small little island. I mean, if you stood, you can see how big these trees are. It's not very big, but it would be pretty cool to get out there. Good picture though. All right, this one I got down on. I got down on my knees, and let me see if I could reset this bit. Command R, yeah, yeah. So the you could see the sun hitting the back of this. I didn't get it in focus. Now I think I use f2.8, no, f3.5. I could have used f6 or f8 to get more of this in focus. You can see the focal plane here, but then the camera, I mean, I should have gotten more of this in focus, which would have been cool. Because if I adjust the exposure, it just looks muddled. It could be because the shadows are raised up. And I just gotta practice more with taking pictures in the snow. All right, this is a tower that's locked up. I liked how the sun was shining through and hitting those steps. That's the only reason I took this picture. I was debating whether to take it, but I couldn't resist because I just like when the sun shines through an area and illuminates something, and I'm just gonna get it. If you can. It's much better if there's a subject. Imagine if somebody was sitting here on these steps, man. I think that would have been cool. It would have been cool. So I'm shooting through this grill gate and then through the railing to see the sun on this wall. All right. And then two more. There's a museum that's right next to the pond, which is amazing actually. Nice museum, a beautiful, nice small museum with a beautiful setting that overlooks the pond. It's a duck made of metal. I deliberately put this in here, but in retrospect, it's interesting maybe or tolerable if you know what this museum is. But if you're just looking at this museum, say someone who lives, who does not live in the area, then I think it'd be more interesting to have all of the museum in the shot. So I wish I had stepped forward or stepped in a direction that would get rid of this tree out of the frame. Because now that I look at it, I could have done more to include all of the museum rather than just this bit obscured by this tree. On the other hand, you could say it's kind of framed, or part of the museum is framed by the branch and the trunk of the tree. I'm still playing with the idea of a frame within a frame. All right, and this one was taken because I saw these rocks in the line and it looked like it was just going off into the distance, into the woods. It's not really thick woods back here. You could just walk through and the road is over here. But it's a little mysterious and I liked it. And that's why I took it. I don't know if it's a great picture. What would I have done differently? Chopped down some of these bushes. No, not really. I think it's pretty cool. It would have been nice if there was a subject there to show some scale or something, or some kind of animal. In any case, if you got a camera, get out there. Doesn't matter if it's a phone or a proper camera. Just take pictures. Take it easy.